Hey, what's up everyone? This is Nick and today we're doing another collectible review. This is the Alien 3 Creature Pack and I just got this from freshfigures.com. They have them in stock right now. You can follow the link in the description below, so be sure to head on over there. You can also snatch up some other recent releases by NECA Toys and other collectible companies, and you can pre-order the upcoming NECA collectibles. I know we have the Alien Resurrection wave on the horizon, and I'd have to say that this is probably my most anticipated NECA release, and maybe even just collectible release in general for this entire year. I think the only thing that might rival it is the Alien Resurrection, Newborn Alien, and Ripley 8. I don't know, it's a tough call. I've really been waiting for this for a long time. They teased it back in like 2016. Early 2016, and I remember actually commenting on their initial tweet that showed prototypes of this baby queen and the baby dog alien that we'll look at in closer detail in a second, that they should include the dog, and they did, which is fantastic. I love that they did that. So maybe myself and other people that recommended they include the dog, maybe we inadvertently contributed to this prolonged delay before the release, but it's well worth the wait, and I had pretty high expectations for it. So this is the packaging. We'll look at all the accessories slash figures in detail in a second. But the packaging is very simple, but it's also very bold. What I love about the NECA Alien line is that it really conveys the atmosphere of each of the films. Instead of opting to be very uniform with each other, it's not like Series 2 is all colored like this, and Series 3 is all in this type of packaging. Here, they make the packaging based on the comic or video game or movie or whatever that this is based on. So here we have an Alien 3 vibe. This looks a lot like that kind of like hazy glow that you get from the lead works at the end of the film. And then here, this isn't just black. There's kind of like this kind of, I don't know, like it's kind of a sepia brownish kind of coloring to it that reminds me of just the overall lighting and atmosphere that's in the film. And you get some really nice atmospheric diorama shots of the dog with his interchangeable head, the queen facehugger, and the baby dog alien and the baby queen alien. Well, they just call it a queen burster. And I like how they call the baby dog alien the Bambi burster. I know that's what its nickname was on set, because it kind of has a resemblance to Bambi, just with its scrawny little legs. And then you have the information for the credits for everyone that worked on it. But yeah, it's really cool. I love the design of this packaging, and it's cool because you didn't have to destroy it to get the contents out. But I could definitely see the appeal of either keeping this in the box or having one to open and one to keep boxed. So there was obviously a tray that everything was nicely secured into. So we will go ahead and go through the innards of this one by one. So the first thing that struck me the most here is the Queen Burster. So what's really interesting about this figure is that you can pose her in kind of a tripodal standing pose like I have her here, or you can get her in a quadrupedal pose by articulating her limbs, and she's articulated almost as much so as the regular sized aliens. Now look at a size comparison here between Ripley and this Queen Burster. So I don't know how accurate this would be, but it's pretty interesting. I think they bumped up the size of the Queen a little bit here. I mean, I'm sure she was curled up inside Ripley, but even still, all this mass makes up probably more than Ripley's torso. So this is probably if the Queen had survived, if it had birthed and maybe survived a few hours and started to molt into something larger. But this definitely, sculpt-wise, reminds me of the Halcyon Queen Burster model kit that was out for a while, back in the 90s, back when this film came out. But it's a darker coloring. It's a darker brownish coloring with a nice reddish brown wash over it. Really nice black highlights over it. We got some nice black on the tail, really threatening looking tail. And then I love the crest. Very cool. Not fully formed yet, but the transition from the brown to the black is very natural. But yeah, the black on the tips of the feet and the hands are very, very nice here. And they gave her little chest set of arms that I don't believe are, oh yeah, they are articulated actually. They pivot at the shoulder, if you will. So that is very nice. But she does have the articulation in the head, really nice range of movement there. She does have shoulder articulation. She has elbow articulation. I'm not going to go too crazy because some of these joints are a little stiff, some of them are a little gummy, and they're so small I don't want to bust anything. But yeah, you can do the 90, you can fully extend. You have your typical alien wrist articulation, hip articulation, knee. It has this kind of, I forget what you call that, kind of like a second knee in there. And then you have your pivot at the ankle and a hinge in there. And then you have the bendy wire tail. So it's about just as articulated as your typical alien figure. There's even, it looks like there's a torso or waist articulation in there, but I think that's like a seam from the assembly of the figure. But really nice. And then they used a very nice silver on her teeth. I just love that snarl that she has. This is probably the highlight of the set in my opinion. And I mean, this isn't even technically something you see in the film. Now SDCC is going on, so they've just shown images of their ultimate dog alien box figure that comes with a little chest burster of the queen that looks like the poster that I have up right there with that greenish lighting, and it's in that circular pose. And then it also comes with a little burster that looks like the one that we see on the scan from the EEV, where it's still kind of a little fetus. So this, I guess, is what the actual burster would have looked like had it fully formed. So I always wondered, did it come out of Ripley at the end because it was time for it to be birthed, or did it come out because it sensed it was in danger and it was just trying to shoot itself out and then maybe find another host? But it's a very large, very impressive figure. The next thing we're going to look at is the Bambi burster. Wow. So I'm going to do a quick comparison with the Kotobukiya dog alien burster, and you can see they're scaled just almost identical. This one appears to be a little bit larger, the new NECA one, because it's articulated in the legs so you can splay him out more. This one, he's kind of in a crouching pose, but they're scaled almost identical. So this was a very, very nice substitute for many years, and it's still a fantastic sculpt, detailing, paint-wise. This one I think is more movie accurate, but I think the quality of the paint and the detailing is equal to them both. Now, keep in mind the NECA one is articulated, so most people will probably prefer this one, and it's going to be more readily available to people. This was a Japanese figure from like 2005, so it's obviously going to be harder for people to find. But I got it for a good deal a couple years ago when it seemed like this set just wasn't coming out. But yeah, it was a good substitute, something nice to have in scale here. But here we have an articulated one, so most notably we have an articulated jaw, which looks really interesting when it's shut. I do remember it looking like that on film after it first lifts its head up, and then the jaw opens up. I think the jaw should open up more than that, and I'm just not getting it quite right, because this little inner jaw, which basically doesn't really have any detailing, it's just kind of the shape of the inner jaw with a peg at the end in this kind of L shape. You're supposed to just kind of wedge it in there. There isn't a little jaw that comes out. I guess it just would have been too small for it. But I keep talking about the small size of these, but I was very impressed with the size of all of them when I took this out of the shipping box. I was like, whoa, because I thought they were just going to be like little dinky little hatchling things like what we got for the Covenant creature pack, because they were just kind of there. They weren't really like articulated or really that impressive detailing or paint wise. I mean, they were cool, but I mean, this is another level. So I mean, it's got a good size to them for sure. And then I'll show you him next to the Queen Burster. The Queen is obviously a little bit bigger, but it's still got some presence to it. Look at it next to Ripley. It's almost up to her hip. Really cool. You could definitely do some damage. And he does have really nice paint. I really love how they did the dome there. It's got a, just looks like it's alive. It looks like it's flesh. It almost looks like a beige, kind of like marble, like granite type coloring, how it has these natural swerves in it and this nice gloss to it that makes it look wet and slimy. And the blood is very nicely applied to it. It doesn't look like, it looks a lot more realistic and classier than how they applied the blood to the Covenant figures. That was like, the blood was just too light on those. And here it's darker, it's more realistic, and it's more subdued. But it's enough to act as a very nice highlight to bring out the details. So articulation-wise, I already showed you the jaw. The head can pivot down and back and side to side. It's all the same articulation you get with your typical NECA alien figure, just smaller. So you have the shoulder, moves in and out, up and down, 90-degree elbow, and then you have the hinge at the wrist, which is a little stiff. I don't want to break that, but there is a hinge joint here. Hips move up and down, in and out. You have articulation at the knee. You can extend it fully out, do a full 90. You have your second one back there. I'm going to remember what those are called right after I finish filming this. And then you have the hinge at the ankles as well, and the bendy wire in the tail. So the tail isn't as barbed on the rear like it is with the Kotobukiya one, but I think the lack of the spike, or a very prominent spike on the edge of the tail, is more accurate. And they have these cool little paws painted underneath, which is cool. And they have the nails are painted individually. This is just an incredible piece. I thought that Kotobukiya one was going to be hard to top, but this is awesome. This is one of my favorite alien figures. And it doesn't feel like I'm just getting an accessory or half a figure or whatever because of the size. I mean, these are sizable enough and articulated and painted well enough and detailed enough. I feel like I just got two awesome alien figures. And then we have the Queen alien facehugger, which we did get once before in the Kenner toy line, the Kenner homage line. The initial series came with a very large one of these and a small one. This is based off of the small one, and instead of being colored in purplish Kenner colors, it's colored more like the film. So in the extended cut of the film, one of the prisoners finds this in kind of like a slaughterhouse and just holds it up, and he isn't quite sure what it is. So there's no articulation on this one, but I like the colors a lot better than the Kenner homage one. Very cool, very HR gear, very nice. I like how, again, it's not just gray, black, or brown. It's like a nice even wash in between all these colors that transitions very smoothly. Really, really incredible. It actually matches the colors of this queen very nicely. So Queen Hugger, Queen Burster, very cool. And then when you have the new Resurrection Alien Queen, which has a brownish kind of cockroachy color, she's going to look really nice next to these. So you can have the evolution of the queen, or the growth of the queen, not evolution. But finally we have the dog, which I believe is named Spike. I kept thinking he was called Max, but somebody corrected me and said he's called Spike. I think Max is the dog from T2. So you have the alternate head, you have a very nice, very realistic head sculpt there, and then you have the more grotesque looking one, which I can never really figure out what exactly happened to him. I think he got burned, or maybe he got clawed by the facehugger. They do have little bits of nails, I've noticed that. This one has very sharp nails, but I don't think it would have been alive at that point to attack him. I think it was the regular facehugger. Which, they could have thrown a regular facehugger in this set, but I'm not going to cry about it because we've gotten so many by this point. But it would have been cool for a newcomer. especially if the design was any different in Alien 3. I don't think it was, but it would be nice to have that option. No articulation for this guy, but you do have a nicely articulated head, which is really all you need. He's just got a kind of emote. I guess it would have been cool if this was like rubbery and hollow and had a slit like some old school 90s Kenner figures like the Jurassic Park ones, or your old like Tauntaun figures, and then maybe you could fold this guy up and put him in there. He does look like he could fit in there, even though he sprawled out, he's about the same height as him. He's thin enough that I think if he balled up, he would fit inside this dog. The dog would just be very swole. But yeah, I mean, and this just pops off. It's on an articulated ball joint, so you can swap out the heads. I put the scarred one on because it's more impressive with all that nasty detailing, and it just makes him look more interesting than just some random dog that's sitting on my shelf. This makes it obviously the Alien 3 one, but very sad, and his eyes are looking in opposite directions, which is fine with me because, you know, I mean, I'm just going to pretend he's seizing up. He's about ready to give birth to the little Bambi burster. So real quick size comparison here. Here is the Bambi burster compared to the adult. So this whole line is going to look so sharp next to each other, especially with the Weyland-Yutani Commando. And I'm probably going to cave and buy that ultimate version of this adult dog Alien too, just so I can get the little Alien Queen accessories. But these are the coolest accessories. I'm glad they sold these on their own merit, because they're awesome enough that they alone, you know, they can just sell themselves. They don't need to be packed in with any other figure. So this is incredible. But yeah, I thought for sure they would just do an ultimate dog Alien and include these guys with it. But this is, you're really getting your money's worth here. So I mean, you get a nice sizable dog figure, which, you know, plastic wise is about half the size of your typical NECA figure. Then you get, you know, one of these queen huggers, which is a very large accessory. And then you basically get an Alien figure that's, you know, two of them that are basically half the size of your typical Alien figure, but just as detailed and articulated. So this is a really, really good value. You're getting 4 little figures for, I'd say, maybe like the price of 1.5 NECA figures. But each of these are about half the value in my opinion. So altogether, I think this set is a very good value. I'm really, really happy with it. I could definitely see why people would want to pick up multiple ones of these sets, because I really don't see them giving us these characters again. I can't think of any other scenario in which they'd come up, unless like years in the future they want to re-release this Ripley or something and then pair them up with something just so it's not the same release. But I wouldn't count on it. I would definitely get these now. I personally really like Alien 3. It's a neglected film. I'm excited that NECA is focusing on Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection this summer and giving it some love. Alien and Aliens always get some love. I understand critically they're the best of people, but I like to see the films that aren't as well regarded get a lot of attention as well. So if you haven't already, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and pick up your own creature pack at freshfigures.com. I'll see you guys around. Bye.